Enviando. Buen día, Gloria.
Bon dia, bon dia, bon dia.
Buen día. Ara et poso a la sala, eh?
Gràcies.
Em confirmeu que esteu bé?
Okay. The recording has begun. Okay, maybe Ice dollar isil teker golu. We don't see your city name. If you can rename yourselves, please. Okay. Well, we can start if you want.
Okay, so to start, I'll hand it over to Josep Canals, who's the Secretary General of MedCities, for the welcoming remarks. Please, Josep.
Hello. It's okay. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Good morning to you all. Thank you for again for being with us. Working group, greener and resilient cities. This is an amazing year for us. I think for MedCities itself, an association, as the working groups are taking shape and advancing its works and all the four working groups that we have. So we are very content with that, and I hope that you are too. This is the, as you know, one of the maybe the more eclectic groups, which is greener and resilient cities. So a variety of themes can be put into this area, and we are very happy to have you here again, very active, and we feel that it's useful for you, and I hope that it's useful for you, the working groups in the session. Today, let me tell you this in an informal way. The bloody acronyms, right? WEFE, another acronym for being unable to communicate with normal people. So we will try to change this, and I always insist to everyone in the science area that we need to speak easily for the people. This is not for us. This is not for experts. This is not for municipalities. This is for all the people. So people are the ones that many times are asking for greener, with more water and more healthy environments, public spaces. So when we are proposing policies on this regard, we need to be clear what we are speaking about. But so the community itself has agreed to speak this WEFE, this water, energy, food, and ecosystem. So we will explain to you, and some experts will explain to you what all of this about. But in many regards, as I said, most part of the population, I don't know anyone that doesn't like to live in a more greener space and without cars or with a healthier air, with water, recreational or to irrigation, with food sovereignty, and with ecosystems protected, even if they are tiny ecosystems or small parts or representing ecosystems in urban areas or peri-urban areas. So for us, it's important also in this working group that we all together can be at the same page when we hear about the WEFE approach and how it's important to create new public spaces with all these 4 areas interlinked among them, which is easier, it's more successful, and I think it has more sense because biology works and nature works with all interconnections, a lot of interconnections, very complex interconnections. So why don't urban public spaces do as well? So this is a good approach, and then we need to explain also to people when we are speaking about WEFE that we are speaking about more water, more sustainable and self-sufficient energy, food and ecosystems all together and interlinked, not the sum of it, but in the linkages that are among them. And because of that, we are going also to take advantage that we are part of this WEFE format project that MedCities is involved in a PRIMA project. PRIMA is another acronym, which is the Program for Research in the Mediterranean. And we were awarded with this program. We are part of this family, the WEFE format. So we have experts here with us that will explain to you some examples of and what is exactly with more precise words than mine, what is WEFE, what is WEFE approach, and also this community of WEFE practice that we are boosting all together within this project. And or you will also see 2 practical projects that have been conducted in 2 municipalities in Catalonia, and precisely 2 municipalities members of the Barcelona metropolitan area, which is one of the members, as you know, of ours, is a secretary of our board of directors, the Barcelona metropolitan area, and that is in fact where MedCities General Secretariat is based. So 2 of these 36 municipalities that encompass Barcelona metropolitan area will be showing their practices on WEFE. Badia del Vallès and Cerdanyola del Vallès, 2 neighbor cities. Moreover, they are touching almost touching. I think they are touching itself, the borders for the city limits from one municipality to another. So maybe this can be in a good way contaminated to other municipalities here, and of course abroad on the whole region in the Metics. So I stop here. I hope that the session will be very fruitful. I will be with you because I'm interested until 11. But we have at this very moment, it is starting another session of another working group of coastal cities. So by 11, I will switch to them and I will follow them and I will try to send some final remarks. But I hope that with the help of Ant too, you will find that this is useful also, and we will commence all together to practice and apply more water, energy, food, ecosystems policies. Thank you very much, my friends, and hope you enjoyed.
Thanks, Josep. We are really hoping that this webinar, in fact, helps to better understand this acronym, which is WEFE. So we have packed an engaging agenda planned for the next 2 hours, and we really encourage you to stay with us for the entire session. I don't know, maybe Ruben, you can share the screen, with the agenda of today's session.
I'm sharing the screen.
Okay, we are seeing the first slide.
You don't, Mark?
Yeah, I'm just seeing the first screen, the first slide.
Yeah. Let me check 1 second. Okay, no?
Well, we don't see the agenda, but maybe I can just like
No.
go through it without the slide.
Yes.
Well-
You can see the agenda now?
Not me.
No?
No.
No, I also can't see it. Do you have it in presentation mode, Ruben?
Yes.
Because we see, there it is. There was the agenda right now. Maybe it's just the time lapse between when
Yes,
you
I
switch
think.
slides. It's for me, it happened a lot.
Yeah.
There.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm
thanks.
sharing the agenda.
Yeah, so after this welcome that Matthis has made, we'll begin with a short connection activity led by my colleague Ruben to set the tone for the session. And this will be followed by a panel of 4 presentations that will dive deeper into the WEFE approach. During these presentations, please feel free to use the platform chat to share any questions or thoughts about the content being present. And as you know, around 11, we'll transition into the interactive part of the session, where we'll split into 2 groups led by my colleagues, Corina and Adam. And in these 2 groups, we will work collaboratively to identify pathways that bring us closer to implementing WEFE solutions, which is aimed at enhancing the resilience of all of our cities. We just want to emphasize how important your input is. This webinar is a platform for your voices to be heard, ensuring that the actions implemented within the working group framework over the next year are truly tailored to your realities and needs. So we strongly encourage you to participate actively in the discussions and to share all your thoughts, all your questions, and everything you need to share. And just to know that we will conclude the session around 12 in the morning with a brief wrap up of the key discussions and ideas that came up on the groups. So without further delay, I'd like to hand it over to Ruben, who will guide you through this open activity.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Well, to break a little bit the ice and start connecting with the theme of the webinar, we have prepared a couple of quick questions, and we ask that you answer them in the chat. So you can use the chat with you can find the icon in the chat in some part of your screen. So the first question is, what is the first word that comes to mind when you think of WEFE? If you have ever heard of this concept before, and if not, let us know as well. Well, let's see the chat. Well, we have climate adaptation, ecosystems, integrated solutions. What else? Okay, water and energy, interconnection, sustainability, water sustainability, transition. Okay, good. For those of you who haven't heard of this concept before or don't know much about it, today's session will be very interesting for you. So, okay, let's move to the next question. we'd like to know if you have implemented any WEFE projects in your city. So please indicate briefly whether you have implemented many, some, few, or none of them. Some projects. Please use the chat to tell us how many WEFE projects have you implemented. Okay, some projects. Maybe some city haven't implemented none. Okay, we have Santayun from Sharta, water energy food nexus approach, mainly in agricultural systems. Okay, from Genova, we have, as a city, we have implemented a resilient strategy and an action plan with different projects. Okay. Mokarta says some of it. Okay, thank you very much. That's great. Today's presentation will surely be very useful for everyone, regardless the degree of WEFE project implementation in your cities. Okay, we have some new comments. Few indeed, currently co-launch an initiative on agroecology, which we will merge later. Okay, thank you so much. So, Mar, over to you to introduce the first panelist.
Great. Yeah, so let's move now into the presentation panel. It's my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, David Smith, who is the Director of Water, Environment and Beyond, a nonprofit environmental research and consultancy organization. So David, please, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much, Mar, and thank you for inviting me here to this the session today. I'll share my screen, and I'll run through a little bit this this concept of the WEFE approach. Yeah, I think as Giuseppe was mentioning, the idea of having so many acronyms is somewhat complicated. However, this concept is fairly easy to grasp, which is not always the case with some of these acronyms. And hopefully, with it being fairly easy to grasp, we can see exactly how we can integrate this. And already we can see from some of the answers that you provided, this is something that not only you have maybe already some awareness of, but already starting to implement some of these types of solutions. Just like to firstly start by giving you the idea of how I can come to this understanding, or at least to be able to speak to you about this, giving you a little bit of an introduction of where we come from as an organization, but then also the introduction as to what the WEFE Nexus actually is, where it's come from, and why it has been popularized over the last couple of years. And then we can see a little bit the importance that this WEFE Nexus approach has in urban planning. And then we can have a look at some of these benefits that it has. So as Mar was mentioning, Water, Environment and Beyond is a nonprofit environmental research and consultancy organization. We're based here in Barcelona, but we work globally. We work across the Mediterranean, Africa and Latin America, where we've implemented a number of these types of solutions regards to the WEFE approach. We do that because we focus on a number of these grand challenges of restoring and conserving nature, or wise water management, sustainable food systems, and climate change. And we do that through looking at the expertise in social innovation, policy innovation, and ecological business innovation, using these various frameworks, these ones that are on the outer circle. So essentially a lot of what we've been doing over more than the last decade as an organization has actually been focusing a lot on this WEFE Nexus approach. But exactly what is this? When we talk about the water, energy, food ecosystem nexus, where does it come from? So we see that the first mention of this actually was at the 2011 Bonn conference. So if we look back, it's not such an old concept, because essentially everything that we were doing up until that point, we were working more or less in silos in each of these sectors. But following that conference, this concept of WEFE Nexus was adopted by the FAO, the UNEP, and the Global Water Partnership. And the concept there at this conference was to have a look at how water, energy, and food are actually interlinked and are intrinsically having an impact on one area and the other. Since then, actually, it was the FAO, together with the Global Water Partnership, that saw the further impact that this system had on the ecosystem. And there we got popularized the water, energy, food ecosystem approach and nexus. So essentially, all this approach is doing is recognizing that each of these sectors, each of these areas are interconnected. They've been traditionally managed in their silos, but having this continued recognition of their interconnectedness, it allows us to start to plan, allows us to start to see how we can affect one another or work together through these different areas. So essentially the goal of the WEFE Nexus is to create these synergies between these different sectors so that we can avoid unintended consequences, we optimize resource use, and we promote resilience, climate resilience in each of these cities. So this becomes important when we start to look at urban planning, because essentially by integrating all of these systems, we are allowing for that consideration into the design, into upgrading, into refurbishment, and into the management and operation of the cities. So how can this essentially be achieved? If we look at the water sector, for example, here we're going to, by approaching it through the WEFE strategy, we look at it in terms of optimizing water use. This is through recycling, reuse initiatives. We invest in infrastructure that minimizes water loss. And we look at green infrastructure so that essentially we're working together with nature and that part of the ecosystems. When we look at energy, we want to start to incorporate renewable energy sources, decentralized energy production, and then we can recover energy from wastewater or solid municipal waste. When we look at the food systems, we start to look at urban farming. So we look at these ideas of vertical farms. In fact, even rooftop greenhouses has been studied last year to say that 70 to 80% of total urban demand for fruits and vegetables can come from rooftop greenhouses. So it's the idea of establishing these community gardens and indeed reutilizing or utilizing treated wastewater for irrigation of these systems. Then we look at the ecosystems. It's the idea of restoring the natural ecosystems within the cities. And we can see this picture here in France from 2022 to 2024, a complete change on what that actual street can look like if we start to incorporate this idea of the WEFE approach. We're restoring the natural ecosystems, we're conserving the natural ecosystems, and we're augmenting green spaces by implementing nature-based solutions. There's a number of challenges, of course, but as well, with any challenge, we can see a number of benefits. The biggest challenge we have here is that conceptually, it's a fantastic idea. We want to include and incorporate all of these sectors. In practice, it is a bit of a challenge because for the first time in a long time, we're having to look at cross-sectoral collaboration. And a lot of these sectors have been working on their own for so many years, and they have their own agendas, they have their own problems, they have their own issues to face. So now to have to collaborate with other sectors can be somewhat of a challenge, specifically because there's complexity in these current institutional structures. To try and overcome that complexity, it requires further resources. A person, for example, that can be focused directly on looking at the interconnectedness within all of these different sectors. And it also encourages or requires public engagement, which sometimes cannot be so easy. But the benefits are numerous. When we look at high energy demands, and we look at cities like Antalya, Mersin, Genova, or Sarajevo, we see that the WEFE approach can actually promote this renewable energy sources and efficiency, reducing the dependency on fossil fuels. In terms of water scarcity, there's many cities that are facing this water scarcity, and Barcelona is one of those. But we can optimize water use through an integrated management and then reusing water and looking at the different strategies on how that can look. In terms of food securities, where we look at cities like Assaut or Ibit that are experiencing food insecurity, there are real approaches that can actually be encouraged, where we look at sustainable agricultural practices and higher yields per unit area by incorporating this idea of urban farming. In terms of climate resilience, here, really the WEFE approach comes into its own. It really does provide a major benefit in terms of overcoming some of these climate challenges that we see. Specifically when we're looking at rising sea levels or extreme events, and we've recently seen this in Valencia, the WEFE approach can help to balance resource use, protect those ecosystems, and it works together as opposed to against nature. The environmental the environmental benefits we can see from the Mediterranean cities that are suffering from this high air pollution, as well as higher water demands, specifically across the entire Mediterranean basin. That WEFE approach allows for the reduction of CO2 emissions, improves the air quality, and indeed the water and sanitation services within those cities. So in terms of conclusion, the WEFE approach first was mentioned in 2011, not a long time ago. But since then, it has grown and expanded and been popularized from WEF to WEFE. The goal essentially is to create these synergies between the water, energy, food, and ecosystem sectors. So to start to work together and break down those silos within each of those sectors. The urban planning essentially requires a holistic view. So when we look at these pictures below, we can see that essentially it's not about just restoring some of these areas or making them a bit more green, but it's to see that how can changing or restoring those areas integrate that water, integrate that energy, and that food ecosystem sectors. The challenges are there, but mainly they focused on things that we can overcome, and that is the intersectoral collaboration. The benefits, however, are numerous. There's reduced costs, there's improved air quality, there's social well-being for all the citizens living in these urban areas. There's greater food security and better water quality. Essentially, the WEFE approach is an approach that works, but it's one that is somewhat complicated to implement only because of the current structures that we have. Breaking down those structures, we can make this system and this nexus work for us. Thank you.
Mar, you are mute.
Okay, sorry. I was talking alone, sorry. Thank you, David, for providing this initial insight into the WEFE concept and its benefits and some key concepts on how to start implementing it. So we hope this has been useful for those of you who are new to this approach. As I've seen, for the moment, we don't have any questions in the chat, but please remember that this is there for you to share any questions or thoughts during this part of the webinar. So now, moving on, it is my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Joana Antoniades. Joana is a Senior Research Officer at the Cyprus Institute and joins us today as the coordinator of the WEFE for Med project through the Nexus Community of Practice. So, Joana, please go ahead with your presentation.
Thank you, Mar. Let me share my presentation. Okay. Okay, so can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Great. So thank you. Today, first of all, I'm very happy. Thank you for the invitation. I'm very happy to be among all of you today. I will present to you the WEFE for Med project. This is a project funded by PRIMA. This is the foundation for promoting research and innovation in the Mediterranean area. And this is a project also supported by the European Commission under the Horizon 2020 framework. With this project, we are working towards a Mediterranean WEFE Nexus community of practice. So after this beautiful presentation by David, I'm not going to get into any details about the Nexus approach, but what I will present to you is how the WEFE for Med project works on promoting the implementation of this Nexus approach across the Mediterranean through the establishment of what we call a community of practice. So in this presentation, I will give you a brief overview of this community of practice, how it operates, and how you can engage and benefit from it. So essentially, a community of practice is a group of people who come together and engage in a collective learning procedure within a shared domain. In this case, this domain is the WEFE Nexus. The community of practice allows its members to participate in many joint activities to share knowledge, to share best practices, and to cooperate towards finding solutions to share challenges. And this is very important because through this process, a community of practice brings together people who might otherwise have not the opportunity to interact. And as you can see here, within the community of practice, there are multiple layers of engagement. For example, active members are those who help shaping the community and direct the dimensions of the community, while there are also less active or even transactional members, which are people who mainly join to benefit from the community, to access specific resources, documents, tools, and benefit from its services. As here, I show to you the methodology that guided the creation and the development of our community, the WEFE for Med Nexus Community of Practice. So this project started in 2022, and over the first 2 years, we focused on defining the learning priorities of the community, designing the structure of the community, and designing the key activities and services that we want to provide to our members. So thanks to these efforts, the community of practice was officially launched a few months ago at a milestone event in Cyprus. And now we are in the growth phase, which we expect to pave the way for long-term success of this initiative. So since the beginning of the WEFE for Med project, we have seen remarkable growth, as you can see here, and we currently count 157 members from 39 different countries. So this number represents a diverse network, which brings together stakeholders from academia, from governmental organizations, international organizations, and also the private sector. And here, this is an important slide because here you can see the services and the activities that are offered by this WEFE for Med community of practice. These activities and services include the Knowledge Hub, an online platform that promotes collaboration and knowledge sharing. We offer physical meetings and conferences, which are held on a regular basis, but also programs that promote cross-sectoral and cross-community exchanges, such as twinning and site visits programs, as well as programs that offer opportunities for development and growth and support long-term sustainability. For example, these programs include a mentoring program, internships, summer schools, and other activities. In addition, our efforts include, our communication efforts include webinars and other activities that aim to raise awareness in the public. And at the same time, through campaigns and policy briefs, we aim to influence and raise our voice to policymakers and advocate for the adoption of the Nexus approach. So, as I already mentioned, one of our major services offered to our members is the Knowledge Hub. This is an online platform which serves as a space for networking and interaction and knowledge sharing. To access and use this platform, you first need to register through a very straightforward and quick process. And once you register, you can share, or you can just find there a number of materials and resources, including articles, policy briefs, updates on events, opportunities on funding and jobs, and many more. Another key aspect of the WEFE for Med community of practice is our engagement with demonstration projects and case studies. And by this, I mean cases that showcase practical applications of the Nexus approach. Currently, there are 13 such cases from 9 Mediterranean countries that are hosted in our Knowledge Hub, and we actively engage with them. And many more, 16 or 18 more cases are in the pipeline. So very briefly, these demos, these cases serve like living labs and help the community to demonstrate the effectiveness as well as the benefits from the integration of the Nexus approach. And okay, so just to show you here, I want to show you here that, is the video playing? No. Anyway, what we focus is the background of this project. We aim to present to the community how these cases address different regional challenges and problems, while we also emphasize on the impact of each project results and outcomes, as well as their potentials in terms of scalability and replicability. So our goal is to continue promoting these demo cases and ensure their visibility and also work to foster scaling and replicating of the most successful solutions. So to conclude, the take-home message from today's presentation is how can the members, how could any of you as a member benefit from engaging with this community? First of all, you can have access to knowledge. This includes resources, educational materials on the WEFE Nexus. You can familiarize with best practices. You can also connect with other people, with other stakeholders and professionals across different sections. You can benefit from opportunities from mentoring, internships, training that offer growth and development. And you can also yourself contribute to shaping policy and promoting the WEFE Nexus approach. So having said that, I would like to acknowledge that this is so possible through the WEFE for Med Consortium. This is a collaboration between 11 partners from 10 different countries, of course, including MedCities, who is organizing this webinar today. And all these organizations are committed to foster sustainable development in the Mediterranean. So everyone involved in this diverse consortium is working together to make this community success. And I will close with a call to action. I want to invite every one of you to register, to join our community, become an active member. And of course, by joining, you will have access to the Knowledge Hub and these all opportunities and for collaboration and growth that I have just outlined. So please take some time to visit our website. I can put the link in the chat so you can easily access that. And there you can find more information and eventually join our community. So thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much, Joanna. And yeah, it would be great if you could share the link on the chat so everyone has it very close. And yeah, thank you for sharing these valuable insights into how cities can engage with and also benefit from the community of practice. We hope it will be useful for everyone here. And since we have no questions in the chat, we'll proceed to explore some practical case studies where this WEFE approach is being implemented at the city level. So our next speaker is Susana Toboso, a postdoctoral researcher at the University of Rotterdam. Susana is specialized in inclusive circular economy and will present initiatives from 2 Spanish cities in the metropolitan area of Barcelona, as Josep mentioned before, that are advancing in the WEFE agenda. So please, Susana, whenever you want.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me share the screen. Okay, so can you see my screen?
Yes, perfectly.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much for inviting me and for this opportunity to explain our research related to these specific cities. As you said, I'm a postdoctoral researcher now in the Erasmus University of Rotterdam, but my bachelor, my master's, my PhD I did in the Autonomous University of Barcelona. So these 2 case studies are part of my PhD that I did in Barcelona. So they are related to the integration of the food, energy, and water nexus on urban rooftops. Yeah, it's working. So the first thing, just to have a brief interaction, in a city, in urban context, it's very important to take into account the urban metabolism of the city, which means all the inputs and outputs that you have in a city. And three of the most important that we have and we need in cities are food, energy, and water, and how is this food, energy, and water nexus interconnected in our cities. So our research was specifically for cities, and as you know, cities have limited availability of land. So we propose this interconnection of food, energy, and water on rooftops, because you know the land is limited. So we thought, okay, there are many underutilized spaces in our cities, so we can use for promoting food, for production of food, production of energy, rainwater harvesting, and also to improve our green spaces, and also for this multifunctionality that we can get between the different food, energy, and water nexus. So for this research, we wanted to have different case studies and trying to understand and trying to analyze from environmental, economic, and social dimensions, because all these three dimensions are the pillars of sustainability. So it's very important to analyze all these new initiatives or new strategies in our cities from different perspectives, not only the environmental part, but also economic and social. And the other thing that we were very concerned about it is about engaging stakeholders. Because in our cities, as I think Josep told us this, it's shaped and it's made for people, so it's very important to engage everybody in this kind of initiatives. So as you may know, there are many things that we can do in our rooftop. We can implement renewable energy, also agriculture, and at the same time biodiversity, because we are increasing green spaces. Also could be a social use, and also you can collect rainwater. So here I wanted to show you just some examples of different cities. These are before our research, we tried to see what other cities are doing on their rooftops. So you can have, for example, in USA, you have Brooklyn Grange, that they are very famous in New York because they have these green spaces. They produce food on rooftops. Also, this restaurant with this combination of productive rooftops and also energy. Also, Rotterdam have these initiatives in order to try to implement different things on rooftop, depending on the type of urban form. For example, for the compact city or for the central district, you can implement different things on rooftops. And also Barcelona tried to increase the green spaces, because we don't have a lot of green spaces in the city. We have around the city, but not in the city. So they wanted, the city council wanted to increase green spaces, but not only as a green roof or extensive green roof. Also, they have to have some kind of productive green spaces, also renewable energy, biodiversity, also trying to collect water in these rooftops. So as you can see here, these are the two case studies. One is Badia del Vallès and the other is Cerdanyola, and they are different. You will see now. The first one is Badia del Vallès, and our objective was to characterize the food, energy, and water metabolism of this municipality that mainly is made of housing estates. Housing estates are these mid-high-rise buildings built in the 60s, 70s in many cities in Europe and in other countries also. And we wanted to propose different scenarios for the food, energy, and water in order to improve the living conditions of this municipality and also for resource self-sufficiency. So this is Badia del Valles. Badia del Valles is a small city, only 13,000 inhabitants, but the density is quite high, and also they have a high unemployment rate because it's a municipality that they face a lot of problems. It's a deprived area, and they have different problems. So in this municipality, all the rooftops are flat, and then they have more possibilities to implement different things. And because we have different plausible scenarios, we thought that the best way to make the decision, okay, what we can do in this municipality is to implement different participatory process. So this is just to have an idea how we propose this research. We call it the Participatory Integrated Sustainability Assessment because we started doing a net scenario co-design. So we propose, we did a participatory process with the different stakeholders in the municipality in order to choose what are their concerns, what they prefer to do in their municipality, and also what type of indicators will be useful for them. After that, we do the analysis, the quantitative assessment, trying to see, okay, so this is the metabolism of the area. These are the inputs and outputs for food, energy, and water. And also with the different scenarios that we propose, we try to analyze from environmental perspective, also social perspective and economic perspective. And then the last thing, when we have all the indicators and all the different scenarios, we carry out another participatory process doing a net scenario ranking. So you will see later in order to choose what they prefer. So here you have just to have an idea. So we propose different. There are many different indicators here. The more related to the vegetable self-sufficiency that they can achieve with these 5 scenarios. And here you can see the combination of different implementations. So PV panels or PV panels with green roof, or PV panel with open air farming and rainwater harvesting, or with rooftop greenhouses also, and also PV panels. So this combination, and the last one is the combination of all the different alternatives. And then with this, we did the assessment, trying to analyze from, as I said before, from different perspectives. And also you can see here, we also account for the annual savings that households can have if we implement these different options, and also the annual activity, which means how many the time that you need if you want to take care of these different implementations, and also the increase of green spaces per inhabitant. That is something very important in Barcelona, in many cities for each scenario. And then this is the second participatory process. So we did a kind of exhibit in the municipality with the different scenarios and with all the different indicators. And then the citizens, the neighbors, have to come and try to vote for the most preferred option. So you can see here that from all the options, the thing is, just to conclude with this case study, is that the participatory voting identifies some discrepancies between the sustainability assessment that we did and with the residents' preferences. So they prefer S1, that is all the different, all the rooftop with PV panels. And then the second most preferred for them was extensive green roof and also rainwater harvesting. But this one was the last position in the sustainability assessment. And conversely, S4, that is more the second best option in the sustainability assessment, it was the last choice among the residents, which means that they don't want to implement urban rooftop agriculture on their rooftops. Because it's something that it's more difficult to implement in a building and maybe will cause more problems. So they agree more into implement just PV panels and that's it. So another thing that we found very difficult was to involve many citizens, because this is a very complex area and they have many different problems, and sometimes it's difficult to engage everybody. So yeah, this is more or less the conclusions that we have from this case study. And the second one is Sardañola, that it's another municipality near Badia del Vallès. And in this case, it was more like it's a similar idea, but we're trying to focus in a different way. So we wanted to see the most suitable scenarios of the production of resources at municipality level, but also trying to see in the three different urban forms that there are in Sardañola. So to do so, we assess the geospatially the potential rooftops of the municipality to implement this production of food, energy, and water nexus, and then trying to compare the consumption of this municipality and the potential production of these resources. So here you can see Sardañola. Sardañola is a small, medium city and have these, let's say, 4 different urban forms. The originary fabric, that it's like the old town. Then the housing estate, that it's the pink color. And then they have huge areas of single family housing. And then the others is more like factories and this kind of constructions. So for Sardañola, we wanted to do, first of all, the physical analysis, which means all the rooftop characteristics and the potential that have of producing food, energy, and water. And on the other hand, we wanted to analyze the socioeconomic characterization. In this case study, we didn't have the opportunity to do a participatory process, but we did a survey, a questionnaire for all the residents. I mean, not for all the residents, but we have a sample of all the residents and all the characteristics for the different urban forms and for the municipality. So we characterize all the socioeconomic analysis of this food, energy, and water demand. So trying to have this potential supply and this demand, and then propose different scenarios for the municipality, and also assessing them with all the different environmental, social, and economic indicators. So here you can see this is the different rooftops and the different square meters per rooftop. So you can see that in the old town there are more like smaller rooftops, and the surface the area is smaller, and then for housing estate they have like bigger and flat rooftops. So in here what we do is trying to see in the municipality where we have the highest consumption of these resources and where we can produce more. And then you can see here the different colors in order to see in order to have an idea, okay, if we want to implement this or this, where we have to, in what area we have to implement this type of production of resources. Here you have for vegetables, also for electricity, and also for water. And also, we also provide a website where the citizens can check, for example, your building and see, okay, so for energy, I will have this self-sufficiency, for food this, or for water this. So it's something that it's useful. Also, we did more or less the same with the different scenarios that we propose for the future of Sardañola. We propose for different PV panels and rainwater harvesting, open air farming and rainwater harvesting, and rooftop greenhouses and rainwater harvesting. And then scenario 4 is all combined together, and we analyze at municipality level and at urban core level. So you can see the different, for example, self-sufficiency for vegetables or the increase of green spaces in the different scenarios. So just to conclude, this is a very fast presentation. So it's important in our case, and I think it's very also important if you will want to implement different strategies on rooftops, it's sometimes useful to divide into pieces, into urban forests, and see what happened in every urban forest, and see where you can foster these policies in similar physical areas. And we found that the lowest consumptions were in housing estates, and consequently the highest self-sufficiency in vegetable production between 19 and 43, because in housing estate there are these buildings that they are flat roof, and more or less if you want to implement a vegetable production, it should be a flat roof. And for single family housing, we see that they have the highest consumption of vegetables, electricity, and water, but because only inhabits one family per dwelling, they benefit from more roof surfaces, so therefore they have the highest self-sufficiency in electricity and also in water, and you can see here the percentage. So this is more or less a summary of these two case studies, but also this research is published, so you can check also online. And that's it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much, Susana. I'll try to share my screen. One moment, please. Wait a minute. Great. Thank you. Thank you, Susana, for sharing these two inspiring examples in Spain. We deeply regret to inform you that Leila Adel, who was our next speaker, the representative of the city of Irbit, is experiencing some connection issues. So we must excuse her from participation. We will try to work with Irbit to gather relevant information about the case study they were presenting today, which was related to urban gardening and how to engage with young people into this greening strategy, integrating the WEFE methodology. And we will try to share it with all the cities in the webinar afterwards. So we will now jump into the interactive part of the session. So Ruben, please.
Thank you, Mar. Well, after this very interesting panel of presentations, we now move on to the next segment of the session, the interactive discussion, where the cities will take the center stage. In this activity, we will divide into two groups to facilitate participation. Once we are in the breakout rooms, we will start with a quick introductory round where we would like each city to explain which WEFE-oriented initiatives you have implemented in your cities. And if you haven't implemented any, you can share the reasons why. And next, we will have a discussion on what do you need to implement the WEFE Nexus in your city, based on the following 5 topics, which I will show you in the whiteboard. Let me share the whiteboard. Okay. Can you see the whiteboard? Yes, okay.
Yes.
First topic is collaborations. Sorry. Okay. Collaborations could be cross-sectoral partnerships, multi-level coordination, whatever. Next topic is regulation and policies. Then social acceptance and engagement. Another about resources, could be tools, technologies, funding, technical expertise, data availability and management, whatever. And the last one is about capacity building, about education, innovation, research, whatever. So each group will have 2 facilitators, and you will also have access to the collaborative whiteboard. The facilitators will know the needs that arise during the discussion. So, for example, here you have the first need, then the second need, and so on. And you will have access to maybe can like or add some comment to the contributions as they come up. So now we will share you the link. All clear? Okay, so we will see you in about 45 minutes. You will be now automatically returned to the main room when the times finishes. So let me activate the breakout rooms. Okay, and see you in a few minutes. Okay. Coco and Mireia, you have the chance to change the breakup room if you want. I think you are co-host. Okay. Then let me. Okay, I want to introduce you to Corina. That would be the main facilitator of this breakout room.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, and maybe we could start with the initial round. So we want that all of you can indicate which WEFE-oriented initiatives you have implemented in your cities. So maybe we can start with, I don't know, Hassan Tayun from Sgarta.
Yes, thank you. In fact, I already perhaps mentioned that we, at the outset of the crisis in Lebanon towards 2019, as municipalities, we started being accepted as actors in the food production sector, being mainly the agricultural systems. We have a very high, if you want, percentage of our arable land in the plain, in the Piedmont, that is planted with olives. So we have the olivery and then all the transformation that of the product itself, and also a lot of vegetables, leafy greens planted there. The problem is that the quality of the water that was used at the time for the production was not controlled because it was very highly polluted.
Mm.
And the ministry responsible for the water is the Ministry of Energy and Water, whereas the ministry responsible for the agricultural land, especially the irrigated crops, is the Ministry of Agriculture, understandably. In Lebanon, we don't have a truly decentralized system. The only decentralized level of governance is the municipal council on the local level. It has a lot of competencies by law, but in fact, it has a minimum, let's say, space to intervene in all sectors except the direct services that usually municipal councils provide to the citizen. But due to the crisis and the incapacity, or let's say the lack of possibilities for the central government to intervene in these sectors, we were able to kind of introduce ourselves from the window, not from the door. And we worked a lot with local NGOs and the local stakeholders, being directly with the farmers, to do a diagnosis on the infrastructure, in fact, the services infrastructure needed to be able to kind of merge these sectors into a nexus approach. This is why I mentioned at the time it was only water, energy, and food. Water, as I mentioned, because of the quality. Quantitatively, we have enough. Energy, it's because of the crisis. We could not continue relying on importing fuel to generate electricity. So there was this acceptance to let us introduce the photovoltaic or pumping using photovoltaic, which also had some problems because when energy is free, you tend to pump a lot of water, even more than what you need. So we had to kind of compensate or mitigate this issue also. And the agriculture being to orient the produce or let's say the crops being planted towards a higher, let's say, role in securing food security. So we went through a food sovereignty approach, at least to be able to kind of have the assurance that whatever happens, we can rely on producing at least 30 or 40% of our needs in pulses, for example, and olive oil was not an issue because we export. I mean, we produce more than what we consume in terms of olives and olive byproducts. So at that time, we did work on these issues. We tried to get everybody involved, including UNDP, which didn't work very well because they had already set their budgets and they kind of prefer to work always with larger entities like government or ministries or so. So we relied on in some cases, on small financial resources, either generated locally or drawn locally, or also through the sale of some of the crops, the pre-sale of some of the crops, by introducing entrants free of charge. So it was like a barter system. The main advantage is that awareness increased hugely of the need of approaching these sectors in a nexus format, let's say. Two, we succeeded also in reorienting the production to more pulses, which is something that helps, that is easily, let's say, preserved, so that over a period of time, if we are in a crisis, imports not accessible, or instability around us that would prevent people countries from exporting towards us. So these two issues were really, we can talk about the success in these issues.
Mhm.
And the other, let's say, side benefit was that people were automatically drawn to reflect on the ways they were using for farming, which allowed us more recently, like about a year and a half ago, to drive together with an NGO that works on the on agroecology, to drive an initiative that is called the Food Sovereignty Initiative for the Casa of Zgharta, which is a district larger than our own town. And we are together working on capacity building, on sensitization, and a very small, like micro projects, helping improve the rate of production or the quantity produced by small farmers through agroecological approaches, and at the same time targeting food sovereignty for these actors, stakeholders. I mentioned also that we will be soon, hopefully, merging the two initiatives. And I think we will be doing this early on in the coming year. If I may, I will just mention that we have a huge number of obstacles in Lebanon because of the unachieved decentralization. And as mentioned by David earlier on in the first presentation, when it comes to governance of this WEFE today, because we have four, not only three sectors working together, or let's say so you have the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Energy and Water, the Ministry of Municipalities, and the Ministry of Environment, minimum. And they don't have the habits of working together. And unfortunately, what we also discovered is that everybody thinks that the sector he represents or of which governance he is responsible is like a privilege to him. And if you introduce yourself somehow, they look at you as an enemy, as an intruder. So we succeeded a little bit in signing memoranda of understanding, form of partnership, but it remained on the deconcentrated level of government ministries rather than the ministries themselves on the national level. So they allowed us to do some kind of a agreement, let's say, with the deconcentrated presence, deconcentrated being the local representative offices of the ministries, to do this work with them, but still it lacks a lot of, let's say, representative power, because it's more looked at as a small, short-term, project-oriented deal. To say the least.
Okay,
so
sorry.
the governance
I think we have to,
is a good thing.
sorry.
Okay.
I think we have to make a cut here. I think it was a
Thank
very
you.
good example of really fostering collaborations and taking matters or trying to get to local decision making, although it was difficult from the governmental setup. So yeah, congratulations on the projects. Really happy that you shared with us. Maybe also we can hear from a few others of examples that they have implemented, or if you haven't, maybe why not? And then, yeah, we try to maybe keep it condensed because we also have the second part of the discussion where we want to talk more about the needs. I think now Ghassan also was talking in parts of the needs, and that we pointed down. So it was a good summary of the project and then linking it to the needs for implementing such projects. Maybe I will pass the word to Emil Dennis. I see a few people sitting in the conference room. If you have examples or that you want to share, or maybe why you couldn't so far.
Hello from Mersin.
Hi, nice to meet you.
We are a group.
Yeah, I can see so many faces.
From Mersin. Emel is here. This is Ibrahim. And two other engineers from the water department. Hi, Coco, Mireya, how are you? And the friends from Antesis. Yes.
Hello, good to see you.
Yes,
Good to see you.
yes. Let's give you a small summary. So what we made in Karadağ wastewater treatment plant, we have methane production with anaerobic digester process and converting gas to electricity with biogas generator. Sorry. Karadağ has two piles of generator, 940, two of them, totally 1088 kilowatt installed capacity. In last year, solar energy panels we made it. It was 985 kilowatt peak installed capacity solar energy panels at 10,050 meters area. In Karadağ, 2024 in year, totally 7,400 megawatts. This is 2,900 megawatts from biogas. 800 is from solar. Also, in 2025, we planning to reuse treatment plants outlet water as cooling water for soda industry INC for 1,500 cubic meter power capacity. It means using approximately 100,000 cubic meter of purified water per a day from ground water. In Mezitli wastewater treatment plant has two piles of biogas electricity generator. It was 788 kilowatts. The treatment plant has the capacity to meet approximately percent of 70 of its total electricity consumption with the electricity it produces. In addition, necessary permits have been obtained for the use of treatment plant effluent in surrounding agricultural lands in 2025. At Kızkalesi MBR wastewater treatment plant, since 2021, Kızkalesi Road median irrigation has been carried out with Kızkalesi treatment plant output water. And Kızkalesi treatment plant provides 24,000 cubic meter cube of water per year median irrigation. That's
Okay, great. Thanks a lot for sharing. Maybe I will try to wrap it up so I make sure that I understood. So mostly you were installing biogas energy production plants and solar production plants?
exactly. Yes.
Okay. And you mentioned something about the wastewater. Did I understand it correctly that you were using the wastewater to produce biogas?
Yes.
Okay, so that was kind of the idea, not to use the wastewater, kind of the nexus between the water and the energy part, and then together, I don't know if in the biogas you also put agricultural waste, or was there no connection to the agriculture? Just to make sure I understand.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not in the
Okay.
agricultural for the moment,
Okay,
but soon it will be done, especially for the green areas of the belonging to the municipality. This
Mhm.
will be used for irrigation purposes.
Okay, makes sense. Great, thanks a lot for sharing. Since you were already talking and having your head in your projects, is there anything, I think we're going to merge a bit the two parts that we had initially planned separately. Do you have anything where you feel this is in need that your city has to implement
Yes, ma'am.
such type of projects?
We can add few words concerning Mersin, which has a very unexpected increase of population because of the migration problems in the Middle East, and also from the big earthquake, internal domestic migration. So in the last 2 years, approximately 500,000 new people came to Mersin, and this caused a big stress on the water need and other sanitation problems, of course, and other municipal services also. We are trying to cope with this big problem, and we will overcome it, I hope, but we will share in our next future meetings what we have done on these subjects.
Yeah, that makes, yeah, I assume this is a difficult situation as all of a sudden the population increases so much.
Yes.
Okay, and for now, so you have to see how you distribute the resources and how you can accommodate such an increase in population.
Yes.
No? This is one of your big barriers. Okay. Okay, thanks for sharing. Then maybe we move on to Mahmoud Ijliyen. If I'm butchering your name, I'm sorry. I'm trying to pronounce it correctly. Mahmoud Ijliyen. If you can hear us. If you want to share something, yeah. I don't know if you, is that a language? Okay, so you can hear us well. Do you want to share something, or do I understand for now you don't share any projects? I don't know if there's an interpretation help support for you. Adrian, do you have any information? I see you're muting and unmuting. I don't know if you're okay. Mahmoud says he's working on a project these days. Okay. Okay, but they're still in the preparation phase. Okay, if you want to share also in the chat some more details, then we can also especially focus on what you would need to make this project a success or for future projects. Then you can also share it in the chat. And for now, maybe then we move on to another city. But we will see what you're writing in the chat and we can wrap it up at the end. Okay, Mahmoud? From Antalya. Okay. Then we have Dervis Hatim. I don't see the full name.
Yeah, it's quite long and it's quite hard to. Can you hear me first of all?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes, we can
hear me.
see you and hear you.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. My surname is quite long. I'm Dervish Haji Mohamedovic, and I come from the Department for Sustainable Development of the city of Sarajevo. First of all, hello to all of you. It was very interesting hearing about some of these challenges that Lebanon is currently facing, and to hear about some of these interesting projects in Mersin. So thank you about that. So the city of Sarajevo itself, as a government unit, has limited jurisdiction. Actually, it shares jurisdiction with several other levels. What we aim to do, having in mind those that limited resources and limited jurisdiction, is we try to work through small scale projects, trying to in a way influence and build cultures. One project that is quite interesting and that has been quite successful is this urban gardening project, through which we transformed an area into an area focused on urban agriculture with a specific focus on water management in urban areas. And through this project, we have involved the local community, and we have started building this specific sensitivity to food waste, common spaces, as well as management of water resources. We have been working on a number of other projects, mostly focusing on water management, having in mind the specifics of the geographical position of Sarajevo and the current situation with the river Miljacka flowing through the city. Having in mind it has been neglected for 100 years, and throughout the 500 years of history of the city of Sarajevo, water has been an integral part of everyday life of the people of Sarajevo. Having in mind these changes in the climate and the challenges most of the world has been facing in the 21st century, now our specific focus is on projects specifically targeting rethinking how do we manage water in urban areas. So that's a little bit about what we've been doing. Okay.
Thanks a lot, Dervis, for sharing this this interesting project on urban gardening. It sounds really nice. And for the water, I understand is it more about water shortage, or was it more in the case of Lebanon where it's more water pollution?
It is both. It is both, actually.
Okay.
It is having the water shortages stem out of a number of reasons. Climate change is one of them, but having in mind the recent war and then the neglect in maintenance of the system, now as a result we have some water shortages, and then water pollution of the main river. You know, it is a significant problem that we've been facing. It is a big challenge for a developing country like Bosnia, specifically for Sarajevo, to try and tackle it after 100 years of you know, this neglect. But we are trying to at least start targeting it through these small scale projects, and we have some larger scale projects in line as well, hoping to start them soon. Yeah, with support from international partners.
And normally, what you think this project, it sounds very successful. What do you think were like the main successful factors for this project? Or if you were to, I don't know, replicate this project or do similar projects, what do you think would be the needs to make it a success?
So the urban gardening project, so when it was designed to be replicable, to be sort of a testing pilot to see if through this gardening project we can start building to see if we can include citizens, and then if we can start building this you know, culture of urban gardening. It has been successful so far. We are hoping to replicate it further on in perhaps through roof gardens, which is a great you know, example of how to use these underutilized spaces. We have, you know, in order to come to that, we first started focusing on building this, you know, a new concept of urban gardening, which has been in recent years, you know, surpassed in a way. So we're bringing it back. It's something that was known to people for a long time now. We're bringing it back with a specific focusing on food waste, and you know, which is one of the problems we face. So.
And did you feel there was, like, from policy part or from collaboration, were there any specific challenges that you think would be worth if maybe in other cities they try to do such a project, they're like, oh, watch out for this thing, or maybe from the beginning start doing this. So
yes, something that was mentioned before is and I believe that might be an issue in most of the cities of the world, is working hard. When you're designing a project, you're hoping that you will be able to involve the communities without any significant problems. Sometimes that poses a challenge. You must be ambitious, but then you also have to be realistic and understand it's sometimes hard to include people from the beginning to something that is completely new to them. That is one of the challenges we faced in the beginning. We worked hard and we managed to include communities. The way the project itself was designed is that the urban garden is placed in close proximity of schools. So we in that way we focused on bringing young people who will then in that way you're multiplying the effects, because those young people will understand the concept of urban gardening, and then it's something that will live on in the city further on. So I think when we designed that project, we specifically focused that, having in mind that without that sort of a safety, sort of a crutch, it would have been a much bigger challenge to involve the community itself, and it would have demanded much more resources and much more time and much more energy trying to include people in specifically citizens and so on. So that is.
And sorry, I'm just so curious about the project. So I have a few more questions. Did you collaborate with a local NGO, or maybe you mentioned, because with schools, proximity of schools, now that you say it, it makes sense. Yes. Was it the city itself that was implementing the project?
Yeah,
or?
The city itself was implementing the project. What we did include, and we did a partner with several NGOs which focus on transformation of urban areas, as well as specifically urban gardening. We also included, what's very interesting to me, and I think that was a success, is elderly centers for, we call them centers for healthy aging. It is community centers where people, elderly people, who are still full of energy and still have a strong will to be a part of the community, they gather, and then they participate and they perform in these spaces. And these spaces have become not just gardens and not just sources of food and sources of but places where people gather, and places where people feel that they belong to them. Because they participate in working in these places, they participate in maintaining them as well. So yeah, I think that's a successful example.
Yeah, it sounds a really successful example. Okay. Then for now, thanks for sharing the approaches, and then to you, Dervis, and also to Ghassan, Emil, or como Emil and Ibrahim, and the whole group. Now we have about 10 minutes left, so we would like to use this time, maybe also Ghassan, now if you had time to reflect especially on the part of the needs, like if these kind of projects, what do they need according to your perspective? What should people consider right before, when starting such projects or planning such projects? What are specific challenges that need to be addressed? I don't know if you have anything to add from earlier, because we were moving on to other projects.
Yes, I promise I will be very, very brief.
No, we have time.
In
so
fact,
happy to hear your thoughts.
You need everything, and all of the above, if I may say. And any approach that, let's say, secures one and not the other component will be short-lived. This is from our experience. But if you want to talk about priorities, maybe one should go ahead at the same time almost with the concept, driving the concept, raising awareness among the people, and also very quickly having stakeholders on board. local stakeholders to start with, because once you create the platform for the approach on the local level, I believe that any government will not be able to kind of block the process. You will always find a way to create some form of a partnership that satisfies everybody, that kind of calms the game down when it comes to prerogatives, and at the same time it gives you the impulse, the local impulse that you need. We, for one, do not believe anymore in centralized solutions. We believe that the central government needs somewhere to carry a vision, but we believe firmly that locally we can, through small grassroots projects, we could impulse change and the famous transition that we are all working on without waiting.
Okay. Yeah, I think we pointed that down. That makes sense. I think
Hassan,
yes.
when you talk about stakeholders, do you mean private also, private and public?
Yes, definitely.
Perfect.
Definitely the private stakeholders.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Hassan. I think that that makes sense from the project we've been working on. In the end, you need people on the ground locally that can drive the project and that are on board. And especially if we want to work with different sectors, there will be a lot of people involved. And it's probably one of the things that you have to prioritize and dedicate time to and say, okay, this is an important priority. Even if sometimes it feels we want to do the project, but this whole collaboration and getting people engaged and involved is probably
yes, which immediately brings you also to the capacity building needs. Because you need to change the mindset, and to do this you need to enhance capacities.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I don't know if from the others, maybe also from the municipality of Mersin, if there's any specific thoughts on needs or challenges that need to be addressed, what maybe challenges that you were facing while implementing the energy projects you mentioned. If you want to.
İbrahim Bey. Evet. Well, hi again. Do you hear me? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. We have reached too many financial resources from the European banks like EBRD, AFD, IFC, etc. for our infrastructural investments, but it's never enough. We are coming from very behind, so extra financial resources we always need to complete our infrastructural investments, especially concerning the protection of Mediterranean Sea. This is one of the, and increasing the public awareness, of course, it's a must. More collaboration between the partners of Mediterranean, the other cities, sharing good experiences, etc., is good. And of course, the training of our staff is always a big need. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot. And also to Mahmoud, maybe in the chat, if you want to write down specific challenges you faced or things that you think are the most priority needs, also welcome to do that. And then, yeah, thanks to the group from Mersin. I think Ruben is writing down the points you mentioned, so we don't lose your input.
Yes, I shared the link of the board. So if you want to add some comments or like the contributions that you will find in the board, you can do it if you want.
Yeah, and as Ruben said, you can also like contributions that others have made if you feel that's the same problem you're facing or the same need that you identified. And I don't know if you have any additional comments from any one of the participants, anyone from the cities that you would want to mention. Or if from Med Cities, I don't know if you have any further questions or things you want to dive a bit deeper into. No? Okay, I see Coco shaking her head, so good. Okay, then I think maybe Ruben, if we want to go back to the general room and then maybe we wait for a couple of minutes if the other group isn't ready yet.
Yeah, we are already in the main room. So
we are the main room.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Then, yeah, we just have to wait a couple of minutes until the others are back. I think they need, they said they need maybe 5 more minutes. So if you want to drink some water or get a coffee, we have these 5 minutes. But please don't run away. We will be back and then try to wrap up the session from both groups.
Mersin, how are you? I can see you in the screen.
Okay, it only lacks 1 minute left. So.
So they'll be back with us in 1 minute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this. Okay. Just give them that minute.
Yes. Okay, 15 seconds and everybody will join the main room.
Okay, we see people coming back.
Yeah.
Okay, are we all back, Ruben, you think?
I think so.
Okay, so then should we use maybe 5 minutes to make like a small wrap up, and then maybe someone wants to say farewell or do the final words of the session. Should we start with group 1, Ruben?
Yeah.
To do a small wrap up? Okay, and then
Let me share the screen.
Yes, great. That's a good idea to have the board.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, Adam, you could do the same. I will hand over to you, but I start here. So to give you a small wrap up of what we were discussing. So we were seeing different examples from Lebanon, from Sarajevo, and from Mersin. And there were examples that combined all three aspects that would combine water, energy, and food. And there were, Ruben, we see your screen.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Thanks. And there were good examples on urban gardening, and some were more on combining food security and water pollution. So also water is not always about lack of water, but also water pollution. And then they were more focused on energy in Mersin. And I think we identified needs all over the different categories that we mentioned. I think one thing that stuck out was the involvement, engagement of the local communities and local stakeholders, decision makers, from public and private sectors. I think that that came out of one of the important things, and that kind of both ways, that these projects need awareness raising integrated into the project concept. And on the other side, they actually serve as helping to raise awareness among the population, because if the population gets involved, for example, in urban gardening, then it also helps to kind of spread the word and spread the concept that the project is all about. Yeah, I think also the decentralized decision-making, which is connected with involving local stakeholders, which can be a challenge depending on the country you're in, whether there's so much decision-making power at local level. Then there was also a wish or a need for collaborating with other Mediterranean cities. So I think this is one of the platforms, actually, the whole idea of the Med Cities platform. So this is where Med Cities comes in. So this is a good, like formats like this, I imagine, where people share different examples is a good is a good format. Then challenges depends on the context. If, for example, the population is growing a lot, then you have to adapt to the situation that you're in. And there was mention of financial resources and capacity building needs, so that people that can make the projects successful. And I think that was a wrap up. I don't know, Ruben, is there anything that I missed?
That's all. Thank you, Cory.
Okay, then Adam, do you want to do a wrap up of the other group?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we had a really interesting discussion, and it touched on quite a lot of similar themes to what it sounds like Group 1 discussed as well. I didn't take any notes, so I'm just going to have a go and see what happens here. But I think for me, 3 themes really emerged from the discussion. So one was on kind of communication, one was on education, and one was on kind of one of the points that David made in his presentation around institutional structures as well, and kind of the importance of an overall strategy. So on communication, we spoke around, I guess, the importance of communicating both to the public and the people who will be kind of affected by the projects, or maybe the people whose roofs the kind of an urban farming project could be on as well, and how getting them on side is really important, and how it's really challenging as well to communicate with them, and the benefit of using maybe local NGOs or small organizations who are closer to the ground as well, and kind of help with that communication with the public. The other really important part of communication, and this kind of comes into the final theme as well around institutional structures, is communicating to politicians, because you know, politicians obviously have a lot of power. The way that we communicate with them is maybe different as well, so maybe we need to adapt how we communicate depending on the audience too. But communication in general is a really important challenge in terms of being able to implement WEFE projects as well. The next one, again, Corina, I think you touched on capacity building. That came up in our discussion as well, and kind of education in general and the importance of it too. Came up a couple of times. We heard a really cool example from Genoa of the recent academy that they've built. We heard from Joelle, who is super interested in capacity building. And again, they were interested in the resources that groups like this can provide, kind of shared experiences, etc. And so it feels like a few cities are in the right place to be kind of learning some of the kind of key topics you need to learn to be able to implement WEFE projects. And then we also talked a bit around the importance of institutional structures, of having an overall strategy as well, and how maybe there's examples in cities where they have either water projects or energy projects that have kind of happened individually, but they don't sit under an overall strategy. And having a strategy can help break down some of the institutional barriers which exist, which can allow people to implement WEFE projects as well. And again, the communicating to politicians can be really important in order for them to kind of set the direction to develop an overall strategy, which kind of covers all of the different aspects of the WEFE nexus too. So yeah, that's my summary. It was a really useful discussion. It was very interesting. I guess I'll hand back to you, Mar.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Adam. And we are at the last stage of this webinar. So now we have maybe 5 minutes in case anyone wants to raise the hand and share any final thoughts or questions or whatever you feel you would like to share with the group, if there's anything. You can just like unmute yourself or raise your hands, whatever you want.
Yeah, hello, this is Roger from Lebanon.
Hi, Roger.
Just to say it was a good seminar. I will have to go, unfortunately, to leave the meeting because I have another meeting. But anyway, please, in the future, if there are some concrete project, you can count us in as an entity.
Okay, thank you, Roger.
Roger, on that, hi, on that sense, remember that this is part of the working group for greener and more resilient cities. The whole idea is to share knowledge between the cities and also any financial possibilities. I strongly recommend you to join in the WEFE format Nexus, the community of practice, not only because there you would have it would cover part of the needs that you've been discussing in this webinar, like capacity building. We also have demos of different cities or projects that have already implemented WEFE that you can contact direct. There's like a chat where you can talk to them, and they can guide you in problems that you may have. We also publish any financial projects that we could integrate. Obviously, MedCities takes you into account whenever there is a project, but it is very important for us, webinars like these, particularly the questionnaire that we have requested you to fill in. It's very important for us in order to design the action plan for the next year, for 2025. And in that action plan also, it is good for us to see your specific needs, tailor-made to your city, to see in which project we can implement best your city. For those who have not filled in the questionnaire, again, please do so. I'll send you the link again at the end of this webinar. And we're going to be in touch in the different activities that we're going to be running for this project. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else who wants to share any final ideas or thoughts? Well, if not, we are running out of time. So I would like to sincerely thank each of you and for your available presence in this webinar. It has been a pleasure to have you with us in this webinar, which is, as Coco said, part of the kickoff activities of this working group. Also, another reminder of this form that we would like you to submit, because it is like the core material and core information to tailor an action plan which is aligned with your needs, your priorities, and your questions. And that being said, once again, thank you for your commitment and your participation, and we look forward to continue this important work together. So with that, we would conclude the webinar. Thank you all, and see you next time.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a beautiful year ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye, take care. Nice meeting you.